Forbidden small batch bourbon. Is it worth it? Let's find out. What's up, everybody? It's Ty the Bourbon Guy, and welcome back to my channel. We're going to jump right into it. Today, we're taking a look at Forbidden Bourbon. This is the small batch, and this is also batch number 1. Now, those not as familiar, Forbidden Bourbon is the new project that Marianne Eaves is working on. Marianne Eaves is somebody who's done a lot of things within the whiskey industry and is very well respected around the industry as a whole. I got a chance to try this bottle because it was sent to me from Forbidden, but by no means do I have to say one way or another how I feel. This was just purely sent to try, see what my thoughts are on this whiskey, and I definitely have some thoughts. This one is 95 proof, and it is, I believe, about 5 years old. I think it's at least 5. If I remember right. Somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think it's at least 5 years old. To my knowledge, this was actually a project that Marianne worked with Bardstown Bourbon Company, and they distilled it and aged it there, and then, you know, bottled it, whatever the case was. So, but the recipe and all the grains and everything else like that was actually part of Marianne's project. On the bottle, you'll see where it says bold and elegant and all these other things, and so this was meant to kind of disrupt the whiskey world. I don't know really how much disruption it had, but you know, we're talking about different pieces of that process being altered. White corn and white wheat, I believe, were parts of that mash bill, which is the recipe of a whiskey that's basically were changed a little bit. There was some differences with fermentation temps, things like that. Parts of the processes that were changed or altered in a way that maybe we haven't seen before. You know, we now create a different style product, still bourbon, still legally considered a bourbon, all that other stuff, but we can play with certain things within there to try to see if we get a different experience. And that, to my knowledge, was the point of this Forbidden project. Now, given all those things, what people mostly care about is what does it taste like? So let's get into it. All right, like I mentioned, it is 95 proof, but it is like a light floral nose. It's definitely a brighter nose. I've said that before. It's kind of hard to explain, but floral, honey, like those types of notes where it's just kind of like a lighter whiskey, especially going in this time of year where spring's coming up, things like that. I could see, you know, just off of the nose alone and it being a 95 proof, this is a good time of year for this particular whiskey. There's also like a slight pepper that I get on the nose too, but you know, again, let's taste the whiskey and see what we think. Cheers. So I think on the palate, I think it follows the nose. I think it's still a softer whiskey, 95 proof. It's going to be 95 proof. It's not going to drink hotter. It's not going to drink less. All those same things. The floral, I still get that black pepper type of note. Honey's there. To me, this is, and this could be the wheat playing into this mash bill, but this is a very soft, approachable whiskey. There's not going to be too many flavors or pull me in all these different directions or anything like that. I think it is very much floral, pepper, honey. And I think that's where we're kind of hanging. We're not going in any other type of direction. With the finish, it's almost like and I don't know if it's because I just had this over the weekend, but it kind of reminds me of like buttery popcorn. Like there is a savory element to this. The corn obviously makes sense. It's a bourbon, but it feels like we're going in that direction maybe. All right, so thinking of the whiskey itself, to me, this is one, I always say this, think about who that whiskey was intended for, right? Who is the consumer that's going to be interested in this whiskey? Do I think a whiskey enthusiast would be interested in this? I actually don't think so. I personally feel like this bottle is going to be for somebody who maybe drinks bourbon, but kind of wants more of an elevated experience, meaning the price point. The price on these, I've seen it anywhere from $130 to $150. Is the whiskey good enough to hold up to that price point? In my opinion, no, it's not. I think that's too high of a price for this product. We're talking a 5-year product, a 95 proof whiskey. I think that's just entirely too high comparatively, because when you look at the market and you see what else is out there and what I can buy at $150, I don't know personally that I'd go recommend this to most people. But looking at the bottle, the design of it, the price point, the way that this whiskey was made, so the softness of it, how approachable it is, this is one that I think somebody would try And the first thing they would say is they think it's smooth, and not in a bad way. We know what people mean when they say it's smooth. They mean that it's approachable and it's not ripping their face off when they drink whiskey. This whiskey would appeal to that type of consumer. That's kind of how I envision this bottle, but that's not the experience that I'm looking for. The experience I'm looking for is something that's got a depth of flavor that's rich and carries different notes, or something that is taking me in a whole different direction. That's fine too. The price point still matters to me, because even though, like I said, they sent me this bottle, I didn't pay for it. And I'm completely transparent about all that, but I just think, who am I going to recommend this bottle to? Which is why I feel like this whiskey is conflicting, because the mash bill, the fermentation temps, all that stuff is kind of playing into the whiskey nerd side of it, the enthusiast side of it, but yet the bottle design, the proof, the price point, all those things to me are kind of showing that we're aiming for a different consumer. Keep in mind, this is batch 1. I'm curious to see where they go from here. I'm curious to see what the barrel proof version of this is, if they have that, or again, like just a higher proof product. I would love to see a little bit more. The issue that I have with this is the price point, so no confusion there. I think this is meant for a very specific type of consumer. All that being said, I'm gonna rate this a 90 out of 100. Taste-wise, I have no issue with it. I think it is approachable. I think a lot of people would think it's smooth. I think this is one that is going to appeal to a mass audience. That's why you try things for yourself, regardless of what I say, and see if you like it. That's what matters the most. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.